All right, today we want to take a look at line type scale. So I've drawn a box using the center line line type. You can see the dimensions here, 7 inches by 1 inch. And by default, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off, so there's a couple of line type scale options. We're in model space right now, so MSLTS, that's model space line type scale. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to change the value to 0. Okay. And then we're going to do paper space line type scale, so PSLTS. And you should see paper space line type scale. And I'm also going to make sure that that's 0. Usually coming up from AutoCAD when you start, in any template, those are typically set to 1. And what I've done is I've got a D-size sheet here. Here's my D-size sheet. And I've got the same thing in 4 different viewports scaled differently. So this is a 2-to-1 scale. You can see the 2-to-1 scale down here. This one is half scale, so half scale down here. And essentially what happens is your model space. So I'm looking at the dash pattern here. So we got 1, 2, 3 on the bottom and 3 on the top for the dash pattern. So with model space line type scale turned to 0, which is essentially off because it's either off or on, 0 or 1, the line type is going to stay more or less the same. Right, so again, the model space, I've got 3 dashes on top and bottom, and in my 2-to-1 scale, I've got 3 dashes. In my 1-to-1 scale, I got 3 dashes. In my half scale and in my quarter scale, 3 dashes, 3 dashes. So with those options turned off, your model space and your paper space, the pattern will look the same. Okay. Where the difference is where if we turn on the paper space line type scale, so PSLTS, paper space line type scale, if I hit enter and we turn that on, so we're going to enter a 1 and hit enter, we're going to want to regen because it doesn't always do this automatically. So I'm going to type REGN all, regen all, and I'm going to hit enter. And so now what we can see is that we have some change in the pattern, right? We have some change in the pattern in paper space. My model space stays the same. And if you look up the definition of what paper space line type scale does, it's really supposed to be creating the same pattern. And that's really what it's doing. But you have to really understand, what does it mean by that, by the same pattern? So essentially what it does is it makes the pattern, the dashes, all the same size. All right. So if I take a look at the 2-to-1 scale, so this small dash is exactly the same size as this small dash in the 1-to-1 scale. Right. And if I jump to the, what is this, the half scale. So the half scale dash, this small dash is the same size as in the 1-to-1 scale. And unfortunately, we just don't have enough of the pattern. We don't have enough when it's scaled at a quarter to show, but essentially it would show that small dash like the same exact width. So, if you want to say that these are, like a half inch or something like that, well, we could probably, let's see, can we dimension that? So no, I'm going to use the quick distance tool and just say from here to here, 0.25. So about 1/4 of an inch, right? So essentially these short dashes are 1/4 of an inch all the way across. Does not matter about the scale. So that's what paper space line type scale does, is it makes sure that across all of your viewports, the scaling of the lines is exactly the same. Okay, So if I turn that off again, so PSLTS, and make it 0, I turn it off, and I regen, R-E-G-E-N. Let's try R-E-G-E-N, all. There we go. So now we can see that this small dash is a lot bigger than the small dash here. This one is a lot bigger than the small dash here because they're scaled differently. All right. So paper space line type scale allows us, doesn't matter what scale your viewport is at, it's going to make the line types the same size. All right. So you have a uniformity there, which is kind of nice. But again, if you're not seeing, if the line work is scaled down too much, you might not see the pattern at all because this pattern can only exist if there's enough space, let's say from left to right. So obviously 7 inches scaled down quarter size is not enough to see that actual pattern. So that's what paper space line type scale does. Model space line type scale. All right, so let's double check this. Model space line type scale, MSLTS. We currently have that set to 0. The model space line type scale affects annotative scaling. So in my annotative scale here in model space, it's currently set 1:1. And if I set this to quarter scale, 1:4, so my annotative dimensions jump up. I'm going to regen all, and nothing happens. The line type scale stays the same. Move this up really quick. The line type scale, stays the same with that option turned off. Okay, I'm going to go back to 1:1 scale. Just do a quick regen just in case. Now we're going to turn on model space line type scale, so MSLTS. Hit enter. I'm going to enter a value of 1 to turn it on and hit enter. So now with that turned on, this should scale. Okay, so I'm going to click on 1:1, click on 1:4. Dimensions move up. I'm going to regen my drawing. Okay, and now that we've regen the drawing, this looks just like it did on paper space when we changed the paper space. So now the line type scale is changing per the annotation scale. So now if I change this to 1/2 and regen, all right, so now I'm getting the regenerated version of the line type scale. So model space line type scale, with it active, your annotation scale will basically help you change the scaling of the line type. With model space line type scale turned off, the annotation scale is not going to play a part in changing the line type. Okay. So I'm going to bring this. So for instance, if I bring this back to a quarter now, right, and I do my regen, R-E-G-E-N, this is my line type scale. In my viewport, I'm going to regen, okay, and I want everything to match. So I'm going to turn my paper space PSLTS. I'm going to turn that on, 1, and I'm going to regen. Regen all looks like works better. All right, so now the paper space line type scale turned on is kind of following what model space scale is doing. And it's all the line work is exactly the same. Now, this is where the line type scale comes in because the line type scale is global. It is a global change. So if I go into my model and I do LTS, line type scale, this changes it overall. By default, it's always set to 1, which is like 100%. So if I jump this down to 0.5, let me do it again. Spacebar, let's go 0.25. So now at a quarter scale, I have my scale looking the way that I want it. And in my architectural, right, regen, just to make sure this is all the way it's supposed to be, regen all, just in case. Right, so now the global type, or the global scale for the center line is scaled down to, what did I do, 0.5, 0.25, which is now going to change the overall scale, how that looks in relation to all the different viewports, or all the parts or objects in the viewports. So line type scale is a global change across paper space and model space. Model space line type scale basically allows it to change with the annotation scale. So you can turn that off or on. Paper space line type scale basically changes the actual pattern, so that the pattern and the spacing inside the pattern is exactly the same in every single viewport, no matter what the scale is. So hopefully that clears things up for you. They're always saying that your model space line type scale and your paper space line type scale should always be 1. Those should always be turned on. And essentially you are just using your line type scale to make sure that whatever scale you are using, it's going to look a certain way. So making sure that if you have a small scale, like a quarter scale, where you're going to have major changes, you want to make sure that it looks good in your smallest scale. You want to make sure that it looks good in your largest scale. Then you may want to have your model space annotated scale changed so that you can get a nice variance between that. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can always reach out, and we'll see each other soon. Thanks. Bye.